My key won't turn in the lock. I try again, metal scraping against metal, but something's wrong. The brass doorknob gleams in the morning light, mocking me with its familiarity. Behind me, my overnight bag slumps against the porch railing, hospital pamphlets spilling from the side pocket, along with Daniel's wallet. The spring air bites through my thin jacket. I wrap my arms around myself, realizing I'm still wearing yesterday's clothes, the ones I wore when Daniel took his last breath. My blouse is wrinkled, spotted with dried coffee stains from endless hours in the ICU waiting room. Movement catches my eye through the beveled glass window. Virginia sits at my dining room table, drinking from my wedding china Wedgwood teacup Daniel gave me on our first anniversary. Her silver hair glints in the sunlight streaming through my kitchen windows, the windows I'd spent last Saturday washing while Daniel napped in his favorite armchair. I press the doorbell. The chime echoes through the house, each note piercing my chest. Footsteps approach, measured and unhurried. The lock clicks. Virginia opens the door just wide enough to fill the frame with her presence. Her face settles into careful lines of calculated sympathy. Rachel. Her voice carries the crisp authority of a woman who's spent decades chairing hospital boards and charity galas. I was wondering when you'd show up. What's going on? My key doesn't work. Daniel bought this house. She smooths an invisible wrinkle from her linen blazer. You weren't married long, no children. No prenuptial agreement. Her lips curve into what might pass for a gentle smile. You don't live here anymore. The words hit like slaps. Behind her, Allison appears in the foyer, her eyes skittering away from mine. My sister-in-law clutches a cardboard box filled with picture frames. My gaze darts to the entryway wall, where our wedding photo should be. The pale rectangle of unpainted drywall stares back at me. 4 years of marriage, erased while I sat holding my husband's hand in the hospital. This is my home. The words come out as a whisper. Was your home, dear? Virginia's fingers tighten on the doorframe. The family needs to sort through Daniel's belongings. We'll have your personal items packed and sent to wherever you're staying. I stand speechless, grief doubling inside my chest. The roses I planted last fall bloom bright red against the house's gray siding. Daniel had helped me dig the holes, laughing when I insisted on precise spacing. You can't do this. My voice sounds far away, like it belongs to someone else. Virginia's expression hardens. I think you'll find we can. She begins closing the door. We'll be in touch about the funeral arrangements. I back away from the porch, legs moving without conscious thought. The click of the lock follows me down the front walk. My car sits in the driveway where I parked it 4 days ago, rushing Daniel to the emergency room. The key fob feels cold in my palm. I slide behind the wheel, hands trembling as I adjust the mirror. The familiar streets blur past the coffee shop where Daniel and I had our first date, the hardware store where we picked paint samples, the park where he proposed. All of it suddenly foreign, like landmarks in a town I used to know. I pull into the Red Oak Motel on Route 7, fumbling in my purse for Daniel's emergency credit card. The room smells of industrial cleaner and cigarette smoke. I sink onto the sagging mattress, still holding his hospital bracelet. The plastic band lists his admitting date, blood type, allergies, all the clinical details that couldn't save him. My phone buzzes. Virginia's name lights up the screen. Rachel. Her voice drips with honey-coated steel. We need Daniel's laptop password for the estate paperwork. I press my lips together, tasting salt. No. Don't be difficult. There are family heirlooms in that house. I am family. The words scrape my throat. A pause stretches between us. When Virginia speaks again, the honey has hardened to ice. Not anymore, dear. Not anymore. My thumb hovers over the end call button. Through the phone, I hear her sharp intake of breath, preparing another blow. I press down, cutting off her voice. 2 years earlier, Daniel had sat at our kitchen table, face pale in the overhead light. Spreadsheets and past due notices covered the wooden surface like fallen leaves. The company's gone. His voice cracked. Everything we built. I failed. I'd wrapped my arms around his shoulders, feeling them shake. We'll figure it out. That night, after he fell into exhausted sleep, I'd accessed our savings account. The one my mother helped me open at 16, filled with babysitting money and later paychecks from my landscape architecture firm. The next morning, I contacted the bank about refinancing the house. The approval letter arrived 2 weeks later. I signed the papers alone, my name the only one on the mortgage. Now, I sit in the musty motel room, pulling my old portfolio from my overnight bag. The leather binding is worn, edges soft from years of use. Inside, behind sketches of gardens and patios, I find our wedding photo. The edges are creased from being moved between various planners and notebooks. Daniel grins at the camera, his arm around my waist. The setting sun had caught his dark hair, turning the edges to gold. I run my finger over his face, remembering the warmth of his skin. I promise to protect our home, I whisper to his frozen smile. My laptop powers on with a gentle whir. The search bar blinks, waiting. I type slowly, each letter deliberate. Widow's rights in property disputes. The results load, black text stark against the white screen. They thought locking me out would leave me powerless. They had no idea what I was capable of. That next morning, I call Mark, Daniel's helper. The phone rings twice before Mark answers. Rachel? God, we've been worried sick. Daniel's office manager of 6 years launches into what should be condolences, but something in his tone stops me. A hesitation. The verbal equivalent of averting eyes. Virginia cleared out his desk yesterday, Mark says. Said she was next of kin. The words hit my stomach like ice water. Yesterday. While I sat in the motel room holding Daniel's hospital bracelet, his mother was already erasing me. She mentioned you two were separating. Mark's voice drops to barely a whisper. Said Daniel was staying with them before everything happened. The lie spreads through my chest like poison. I press my palm against the motel room wall, steadying myself. We weren't separating. I was with him every minute in the hospital. My phone buzzes with a text. Another bank notification. Attempted access to Daniel's accounts. Virginia's third try since dawn. A knock at my door saves Mark from responding. Monica stands in the threshold, her realtor blazer traded for jeans and a faded UVA sweatshirt. My college roommate takes one look at my face and steps inside. Don't talk to them again without me. She pulls out her laptop, already shifting from friend to attorney. Not Virginia, not Allison, not their lawyer. Nothing. I ended the call. I sink onto the bed. Their lawyer? Virginia had lunch with Stuart Phillips 2 days before Daniel died. Monica's fingers fly across the keyboard. While you were at the hospital, he filed paperwork to freeze Daniel's accounts. The room tilts sideways. I think of Virginia sitting at my dining room table, drinking from my wedding china, the calculated sympathy in her smile. Allison moved her things into your guest room that same day. Monica looks up from the screen. The housekeeper called me. She quit rather than help them pack up your clothes. My throat closes around the betrayal. While I held Daniel's hand through those final hours, his sister carried her suitcases past our wedding photos. Past the garden plans Daniel and I sketched on lazy Sundays. Past every memory they're trying to erase. We need proof of ownership. Monica's voice cuts through the fog. Tax records, deed, anything with your name on it. I close my eyes, picturing the documents in Daniel's home office. The mortgage paperwork I signed alone, protecting our house from his company's collapse. The property tax bills in my name. The laundry room door. The words come out before I fully grasp the plan. The lock sticks unless you lift the handle exactly right. I noticed it during the inspection. Monica's eyes narrow. You're sure they won't know about it? A ghost of a smile touches my lips. Virginia would never go near a laundry room. The moon hangs low over the empty street as we park 3 blocks away that same night. My hands shake as I lead Monica around the back of the house, past the roses Daniel helped me plant. The laundry room door opens with a familiar stubborn click. Footsteps creak overhead. Monica freezes beside me. A shadow passes the kitchen window, Allison's distinctive slouch visible in silhouette. We press against the wall, hardly breathing, until she disappears upstairs. 10 minutes later, Daniel's office remains untouched. Too painful for Virginia to sort through, according to the notes she left for the moving company. The room smells of his cologne and coffee, of late nights spent rebuilding after his company failed. I snap photos of everything with trembling fingers. Mortgage statements, property taxes, home insurance policies. The paper trail of our life together. The black folder catches my eye, tucked behind Daniel's engineering textbooks. Gold letters gleam against the leather. Postnup, do not discard. Rachel. Monica's urgent whisper barely registers as I open the document. The pages blur through my tears. Daniel's signature stands bold at the bottom, dated 2 years ago, the day after his company collapsed. A handwritten note paper clipped to the corner. If Mom tries anything, show this to your lawyer. This changes everything. Monica's hands are steady as she photographs each page. He knew she might try this. He protected you. The front door slams somewhere below. Virginia's voice carries up the stairs, sharp with command. Allison, check his office again. There must be something we can use. Monica tugs my arm. We slip out through the laundry room before Allison's footsteps approach. The moon bathes the garden in silver as we hurry past Daniel's roses, past the life his mother wants to steal. Back in the motel room, Monica's laptop screen fills with legal documents. Virginia's petition to the probate court. Accusations of emotional manipulation during Daniel's fragile mental state. My name twisted into something ugly and false. All his accounts are frozen. Monica's voice hardens. She's trying to force you to negotiate. My phone lights up with Virginia's number. Her voicemail fills the room, seconds later. Rachel. Crystal glasses clink in the background. The sound of my wedding china touching marble coasters. You're desecrating his memory with these ridiculous claims. His father built that house. It belongs to the family. To people who truly loved him. I end the call. In the sudden silence, my hands find Daniel's watch in my overnight bag. The leather band still holds the shape of his wrist. The safe deposit box is ready, Monica says softly. No one can access it but you. Later, alone in the fluorescent-lit bank vault, I study the postnup document one final time. The date catches my eye. 2 years ago. The same week, Daniel sat at our kitchen table, surrounded by final notices and foreclosure threats. His voice echoes in my memory, rough with exhaustion. I never want you to worry about anything. I run my finger over his signature, remembering how his hand shook that day. Not from illness or weakness, but from love. From the need to protect what mattered most. I won't let them take our last conversation too. The words fill the empty vault. A promise to the man who planned for battlefields while I planted gardens. Who knew his mother's heart better than I ever could. The document seals away in darkness. But its truth burns bright as sunrise, as certain as the roses blooming in our garden. They thought they could erase me. They never knew I was the one holding the pen. 4 days later, at my work, the fluorescent lights of Middlebury Garden Center buzz overhead as I arrange potted ferns, their leaves trembling under my touch. Through the glass storefront, Virginia's silver Mercedes glides into a parking space. My fingers are still on the ceramic pot. Rachel. Susan from the front counter touches my arm. You don't have to stay. My mother-in-law sweeps through the door in a black Chanel suit, flanked by 3 ladies from her garden club. Their eyes swim with theatrical sympathy. A tissue flutters in Virginia's manicured hand. I just want to understand. Virginia's voice carries across the showroom. Daniel would have wanted his personal items to stay in the family. The fern quivers as I set it down. 4 days of this Virginia appearing wherever I work, speaking just loud enough for everyone to hear. Mrs. Quinn? A customer approaches with questions about shade perennials. I focus on explaining the difference between Astilba and bleeding hearts while Virginia's performance continues. The watch his father gave him for graduation. She dabs at dry eyes. The photos from his childhood. All those precious memories. My customer's gaze darts between us. I hear the whispers start. They spread through Middlebury like poison ivy. Virginia's careful cultivation of public opinion. The newspaper obituary listed only her and Allison as survivors. The locks changed on Daniel's office before I could collect his things. Rachel. Monica appears in the doorway, briefcase in hand. My college roommate turned real estate attorney surveys the scene with sharp eyes. I need you to sign these papers. I follow her to the break room, Virginia's voice fading behind us. Monica spreads documents across the scratched formica table. Found these in your old files. She taps Daniel's leather journal. Every business decision, every conversation about family, money, all documented. The familiar loops of Daniel's handwriting fill the pages. My throat tightens. His neurologist's report from March. Monica slides another paper forward. Perfect mental capacity, no sign of cognitive decline. They're saying I manipulated him. The words taste bitter. That I took advantage when his business failed. Let them talk. Monica's smile holds steel. You're not who they think you are. The fluorescent light flickers as we prepare for tomorrow's hearing. My fingers trace Daniel's signature on our mortgage papers. The same careful strokes that signed love notes, birthday cards, anniversary wishes. Morning brings the sterile formality of probate court. Virginia arrives in widow's black, though Daniel was my husband, not her child to mourn. Allison clutches a tissue, eyes darting away when I meet her gaze. Their lawyer paints me in careful strokes the gold digger, the manipulator, the woman who swept in during Daniel's vulnerability. Virginia nods at each accusation, silver hair catching the light. I sit quietly, Daniel's gardening journal in my lap. The same journal where he sketched our future, the rose garden, the stone pathways, the life we plan to grow together. Monica's hand squeezes my shoulder. Your Honor. Virginia's lawyer adjusts his tie. Mrs. Quinn took advantage of my client's son during a period of documented mental distress. If I may. Monica rises, our stack of evidence ready. The house mortgage is in Rachel's name alone, filed 2 years ago with Mr. Quinn's full knowledge and consent. The judge leans forward. Virginia's fingers whiten around her purse strap. Furthermore, Monica presents the neurologist's report. Mr. Quinn's cognitive function tested above average just 8 weeks ago. And this postnuptial agreement, signed and notarized, explicitly states his wishes regarding property division. Virginia's face hardens. He never mentioned. Did you ask him? The judge's question cuts through her protest. Did you verify any of these accusations before filing your petition? Allison shrinks in her chair as Virginia stumbles through explanations. Each lie crashes against our wall of documentation. The postnuptial agreement stands. The judge's gavel cracks like summer thunder. The home belongs to Rachel Quinn. Later that day, after the hearing, Monica arrives at my motel room with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. The door opens again and again, my old colleagues from the landscape firm, carrying casseroles and memories of Daniel. Remember when he brought lunch to the garden center? Lisa sets down a lasagna. Every Wednesday, rain or shine. The time he helped us unload that massive shipment of river rocks. Tom pours wine into paper cups. Said he couldn't let his wife's friends throw out their backs. For the first time since the hospital, laughter bubbles in my chest. These people knew us, the real us, not Virginia's careful fiction. After the party was over, Monica reviews tomorrow's plan. The police will escort us to the house. I've already called the locksmith. I nod, spreading papers across the bed. My inventory of missing items, Grouse wedding albums, Daniel's architectural books, family photos erased like we never existed. Look at this. Monica holds up a sheet of paper, Virginia's flowing script listing items to remove. She left evidence of her own theft. It doesn't matter. I touch my wedding ring. The house is ours again. The next morning, I stand on my front porch. New keys slide into new locks. Inside, Virginia's family photos mock me from my walls. Daniel's bookshelves stand empty. But in his old study, tucked behind a filing cabinet, I find his gardening sketchbook. The final page shows his dream for our backyard flagstone paths winding through cottage gardens, a wrought iron bench beneath flowering dogwood. My fingers trace his notes in the margin. For Rachelso, she'll always have a piece of paradise. This is how I'll bring you home, I whisper to the quiet room. One flower at a time. My roses bloom blood red against the morning frost a month later. The thorny stems pierce through remnants of Virginia's gardening gloves, abandoned when she fled the property after the court ruling. I gather the torn fabric, noting the expensive brand name. The past month floods back every manipulative tear, every orchestrated scene of maternal grief. The locksmith arrives at 7 sharp. I watch him replace each lock, testing keys with methodical precision. The sharp click of new tumblers sounds like victory. No spare keys, I tell him. thinking of Virginia's collection of copied ones. My voice carries the quiet authority I've learned these past weeks. Inside, Daniel's favorite armchair sits empty by the window. Late morning sun streams across the leather, highlighting the worn patch where his hand always rested. I trace the familiar indentation, remembering his laugh when I'd perch on the arm, sharing coffee and garden plans. The security company van pulls up as I'm unpacking the last box of our wedding china. Each piece survived Virginia's occupation unscathed, though she'd drunk from my anniversary teacup that first morning. I arranged them in the china cabinet, restored to their proper places. Full perimeter coverage. The installer explains, mounting cameras at key points. Motion sensors on all entry points. He hesitates. The system can store up to 30 days of footage. Perfect. I sign the paperwork, thinking of Virginia's tendency to orchestrate accidents and chance encounters. That afternoon, the certified letter arrives. Virginia's distinctive handwriting demands the return of family heirlooms, a list that includes my own wedding gifts. The threat of legal action for emotional distress curves across the bottom in elegant script. I file it with Monica's growing collection of evidence. My college roommate turned lawyer has become my shield against Virginia's barrage of demands. Last week's attempt to claim Daniel's life insurance reminded me why I'd kept her on retainer. The phone rings as I'm replanting the flower beds. Allison's number flashes on the screen. Mom says you're erasing his memory. Her voice wavers between accusation and uncertainty. The furniture, the photos. I'm restoring our home. Soil crumbles through my fingers as I nestle marigold seedlings into place. Daniel's favorites, the furniture he chose, the photos of our life together. But the photos your mother hung, the ones that excluded me entirely, rich earth packs around tender roots. They're boxed in the garage. You can pick them up anytime. Silence stretches between us. A cardinal lands on the birdbath Daniel installed last spring, brilliant red against weathered stone. She has new evidence. Allison's whisper carries a warning. About the postnup, she says she can prove. No, the word emerges sharp as thorns. She can't prove what isn't true. The line goes dead. I continue planting, each flower a quiet rebellion against Virginia's attempted erasure of my marriage. The garden Daniel and I planned together blooms beneath my hands. 2 days later, Virginia arrives at Green Valley Gardens where I've resumed consulting work. She sweeps through the office entrance trailing sympathetic friends and carefully curated grief. Rachel, her voice carries across the reception area. I've come to discuss Daniel's true wishes. My colleagues move like a well-rehearsed dance company. Sarah steps between us, portfolio open. Mrs. Quinn is with a client. Tom appears at my elbow, drawings requiring immediate approval. The protective circle closes, professional and polite. She's locked us out of our son's funeral. Virginia's voice rises, practiced tears threatening. His own mother. The service was private. My words cut through her performance, as Daniel wanted. The tide shifts. Virginia's friends exchange glances, noticing the steel beneath my quiet certainty, their carefully coordinated support wavers. That evening, Monica arrives with takeout and legal updates. Virginia's lawyer declined to pursue further litigation. She passes me a container of pad thai. Your documentation was too thorough. The postnup stands. I think of Daniel's meticulous notes, his careful preparations. Even dying, he'd tried to protect me from his mother's manipulations. I think of the funeral day 2 days after he dies. The funeral dawned clear and cold. Roses from our garden graced the small chapel. Only those who truly knew Daniel filled the pews, colleagues who supported his dreams, friends who stood by him when his company failed. Virginia and Allison swept in as the minister began, designer black dresses crackling with tension. Heads turned, whispers rippled through the gathering. I rose, steel wrapped in grief. You don't belong here. My voice carried to the vaulted ceiling. You tried to erase him. Allison's face crumpled. She grabbed Virginia's arm. You're right. Her whisper echoes. Let's go, Mom. Now, at the present, after the work is done and I return home later this evening, I find Allison by Daniel's favorite rosebush. Petals scatter at her feet like broken promises. When we enter the house, she follows me. Mom said you never loved him. The words tumble out. That you married him for? I unlock Daniel's study. His sketchbook lies open on the desk, pages filled with garden designs. Our shared dreams sketched in precise architectural lines. Allison traces his handwriting, tears spotting the paper. I remember when he drew like this. Before Mom. Her voice breaks. Before everything. We stand in silence, sharing the first genuine moment of grief between us. The garden breathes around us, Daniel's legacy growing in every careful planting. That night, I find the envelope beneath my door. The note inside carries Virginia's elegant threat. This house will always be mine. I carry it to the garden, past roses and marigolds standing sentinel in the gathering dark. The hole for the last seedling waits, dark soil ready to receive new life. I bury Virginia's words beneath Daniel's favorite flowers. Not anymore, I whisper to the night air. The marigolds nod in the breeze, sturdy and bright against the shadows. Like me, they've learned to bloom despite the frost. The certified letter arrives on a Tuesday morning. Virginia's signature sprawls across the bottom of the page in elegant cursive, demanding the return of family heirlooms. My wedding gifts appear on her itemized list: the Waterford crystal vase from my college roommate, the hand-painted serving bowl Daniel and I bought in Provence. I fold the letter into precise quarters, my fingers pressing sharp creases into the heavy paper. The familiar ache spreads beneath my ribs as I read her final threat. Further legal action for emotional distress if items aren't surrendered within 48 hours. The rumors reached me the next day. Susan from my garden center calls, voice tight with concern. Virginia told the bridge club you're selling Daniel's things, that you've already replaced his clothes with new furniture. An hour later, that day, the bell above the door of my landscape architecture office chimes. I look up from the computer screen where I've been reviewing client proposals. Virginia stands in the entryway, wrapped in an expensive wool coat despite the spring warmth. Behind her, Mrs. Henderson from the hospital board peers around with poorly concealed curiosity. Rachel. Virginia's voice warbles, a calculated tremor. I just want something to remember my son by. My newest client, Mrs. Peterson, stops arranging peonies in the consultation area, her weathered hands still on the pale pink petals. You took family photos. My voice stays quiet, steady. His childhood albums, his Harvard diploma. You're selling everything else. Virginia presses a monogrammed handkerchief to her eyes. His books, his father's watch, all being liquidated while we grieve. The lie settles in the air between us. Mrs. Peterson's eyes dart between us, uncertain. My hands rest flat on the desk, anchoring me to the smooth wood Daniel helped me select when I reopened my practice. Come to the house tomorrow at 2. The words emerge with careful precision. Bring Allison. We'll settle this. Virginia's lips part, ready to protest, but something in my expression stops her. She nods once, sharp and brief, before sweeping out. Mrs. Henderson scurries after her. The next afternoon, I arrange the evidence with methodical care. Daniel's possessions rest on the dining room table, nothing sold, nothing discarded. The security footage plays silently on my laptop, showing Virginia and Allison removing items while I sat vigil in the ICU. Bank notifications document Virginia's attempts to access our accounts hours after Daniel's heart stopped. The doorbell rings at exactly 2. I smooth my hands down my gray wool skirt, chosen for its understated authority. When I open the door, Virginia's eyes widen at my tailored appearance. No more rumpled hospital clothes or tear-stained blouses. Please come in. I step aside, gesturing to the formal living room. I've prepared everything you need to see. Allison trails behind her mother, gaze fixed on the floor. Their heels click against the hardwood as I lead them to the dining room. Virginia's fingers twitch at the sight of Daniel's things arranged with careful purpose. The postnuptial agreement. I slide the document forward. Signed 2 years ago, notarized, witnessed, Daniel's explicit instructions about asset distribution. He wasn't thinking clearly then. Virginia's voice rises. The business troubles. The neurologist's report. Another paper joins the first. Full cognitive evaluation from 2 months ago. Perfect scores. Virginia's hands clench in her lap. I reach for the laptop, turning it to face them. Security footage from the day Daniel died. You removing items while I was at the hospital. Time-stamped bank access attempts within hours of his passing. My finger traces the dates. I have everything documented. He always chose you. The words burst from Virginia, raw and ragged. Over family, over blood. I was his family. The truth rings between us. You just couldn't see it. You'll regret this. Virginia pushes back from the table, her chair scraping the floor, standing alone against us. I walk to the front door, opening it wide. Spring sunlight spills across the threshold. Your son loved me. Nothing you do changes that. Virginia's shoulders stiffen as reality settles over her like a shroud. Her social standing, her careful manipulation saw crumbling under the weight of evidence. Allison lingers in the foyer. I'm sorry. The words barely carry. For helping her. For believing. I lift Daniel's childhood photos from the side table. These belong with you, the rest stays here. You'll be alone now. Virginia's final barb as she steps onto the porch. No family left. I have everything Daniel wanted me to have. I keep my wedding ring visible, sunlight catching the diamond, including his blessing to build something new. After they leave, I walk through the empty rooms. My fingers trail along walls that hold 4 years of memories. In our bedroom, Daniel's closet door opens with a familiar creak. His scent lingers in the fabric of his favorite sweater. We did it. I whisper the words into the quiet. For the first time since his death, tears fall without the bitter taste of battle. I close my eyes, breathing in the lingering traces of Daniel's presence. Whatever comes next, I face it standing in the home we built, the one I protected, just as he protected me. Just as he knew I would. 2 months later, my key slides into the lock with a familiar click. Through the beveled glass, morning light paints kaleidoscope patterns across the foyer floor. I press my palm against the solid oak door, feeling its warmth before pushing it open. Allison stands on my front porch, clutching a cardboard box filled with architectural books. Her fingers drum against the worn spines, a nervous rhythm I recognize from Daniel's habits during board meetings. These were his favorites, she says, her voice catching. Mom wanted to donate them, but... She shifts the box in her arms. I thought you should have them. I step back, making space in the doorway. The gesture cost me nothing, yet her eyes widen as if I've offered a fortune. She follows me inside, her footsteps hesitant on the hardwood floors where she once stormed through with such entitlement. Would you like to see what he designed for the garden? The question surprises us both. But watching her cradle his books, I glimpse the sister he described from childhood, the one who built blanket forts with him during thunderstorms. She nods, trailing me through the kitchen to the back door. The spring air wraps around us, heavy with the scent of blooming marigolds. Daniel's favorites carpet the beds in swaths of amber and gold, their sturdy stems dancing in the breeze. He sketched this. I pull his college notebook from my work apron. The pages fall open to the design he drew years ago, curved pathways and terraced beds flowing toward a central seating area. I'm building it exactly as he planned. Allison traces the pencil lines with trembling fingers. His handwriting. She stops, pressing her lips together. After a moment, she reaches into her bag and pulls out a battered sketchbook. Mom hid these in the attic. His college projects. I thought, maybe they belong in his garden. The gift stretches between us like a bridge. Fragile but real. Not friendship, not yet, but understanding begins somewhere. I return to work after she leaves, my landscape tools scattered around the half-finished patio. The stone path takes shape under my hands, each piece fitted precisely to match Daniel's vision. My fingers remember the evening he drew this, hunched over our kitchen table while winter rain tapped against the windows. A place for morning coffee, he'd said, sketching the bench placement, and afternoon naps. His pencil added shade beneath a trellis, something that grows more beautiful with time. The memory warms me like sunlight. I stand, brushing dirt from my knees, and survey my progress. The bones of his design rise from raw earth, retaining walls anchoring the slopes, irrigation lines threading beneath fresh mulch. My company sign stands near the gate, Quinn Landscape Architecture. Inside my home office, golden hour light streams through windows that once felt like prison bars. Daniel's framed photo sits on my desk alongside current projects. A widow rebuilding after a contentious estate battle, a divorcee reclaiming her garden from decades of neglect, women whose stories mirror my own, seeking beauty after loss. Monica arrives as sunset paints the sky in watercolor strokes. She carries champagne and 2 glasses, our tradition since that first legal victory. To the garden, she says, settling onto the new bench. And to you. We watch twilight soften the edges of this space Daniel and I dreamed together. My former colleagues arrived this morning to help plant the final sections, their wedding gift to us, completed at last. Something catches in my throat as I remember their quiet determination, transforming grief into growth. The perennials arrive tomorrow, I tell Monica, touching a marigold bloom. Daniel always said gardens need something that returns year after year. She squeezes my hand. Like memories. And strength, I add softly. Later, after Monica leaves, I walk the garden paths barefoot. The stones hold warmth from the day, smooth beneath my feet. Wind rustles through new leaves, carrying the promise of summer. I settle onto the bench built to Daniel's specifications, running my fingers over the worn pages of his sketchbook. They thought locking me out would leave me powerless, but I built a home from ashes not out of spite, but peace. I didn't win because I took the house. I won because I didn't let them take me. A marigold petal lands in my palm, bright as a penny. I tuck it between the pages of Daniel's notebook and close my eyes, breathing in the night air. In this garden, every bloom speaks his name. Every path leads home.